So STATA, we end up having it as our information software, and this one ends up having a lot of interesting features that we're able to use. So for STATA 18, our main page right here in the beginning, this is going to be your output section. Down here, we end up having our command section for you to type in all your commands. Next, we end up having our variables and some of the properties, and some of the variables that we can see would end up having our label, which is the questions you want to end up having, or the questions that were asked during your survey presentation. Next, we end up having some of the variable information. Once we click on it, we're able to see the name, label, type, format, the label that was used, aside from the file name that was there. Next, we end up having our history, or the windows that we have open. This, you're able to end up having a lot of information that you might want to end up using later. But the one thing that I want to show you before we start is windows. So here we end up having command, results, history, variables, and properties. Aside from graphs and do file editor. So if we end up hitting X that we wanted to take it off for variables and properties so we could see our results table more, we can go back in and hit either Control 4 or use the drop down menu so we are able to bring back our variables and the properties. So another part that I would want to show before we continue is some of the graphics that we end up having here. So we do have open, save, but save is only for the data file. So it wouldn't be this part right now, it would be the output data file, where you are able to also print your results and start with some of the graphs or graphics up here as well. What we do end up having is a new do file editor so that we could start with a fresh file to save some of your information. Aside from that, we also have the variable manager. So when we click on it, we can see that there are some information that's already presented. And it does say the label that was already written out. I chose to do one on cancer, and some of the labels are already written out the way that they had it presented for their survey questions. So they had their name for the survey variable, the label that they used, and how much information it could take for its formatting bytes. It also says how many observations in total down here. So there's 48 observations that were used. So aside from that, it also has the label for age, or record if they had used the information here or not.